Hello, I am starting. Maybe a little too close to this, but we will make it work. Like I said previously, it is October 1st, 2023, and I'm doing fine. I recently just updated my schedule. One thing that I've noticed is that it's a lot easier to, what's the best way of saying this? Put things on the schedule because then it's easier to do them because it's on the schedule instead of winging it thinking things are going to get done, and you say, I'll do it the next day. That's how it works with work, right? If there's a schedule, there's a meeting, you just do it because it's on the schedule. So that's what I'm thinking. So I'll be podcasting, I would say, about twice a week at least, or at most, whichever way you want to think about it. So that's the way I'm going to go about it. And like I said, I will have some topics. I do actually have a topic today. And sometimes I'll just be talking, just randomly saying the things that I want to say with this. But so far, so good. I'm going to cough and sneeze again. Slightly still under the weather, but that's fine. Um, so it's the weekend. I'm going to be running a couple of errands. I didn't want to say I did get my food manufacturer's permit. So that's looking really, really good. So the next step is to move on to Amazon, seeing what other things I need to do. I think for the most part, I'm complete. I just need to get on there, see what it is all about, what else I need to do, and then start the process of updating my bags, getting things in order that way, and really start to get out there and talk to different businesses. I can actually do that right now. So that's going to be a part of my list of things to do. And then, make videos, continue the podcasting, and give people more so what they what they need. So yeah. But one of the things that I did realize or think about when I heard somebody else talk about it was they were talking about water, and in particular, water and coffee. And I used to be a really big kind of crazy about particular water, making my own water, using packages, distilled water, and all that stuff. And I do think that is important. But just going through the stuff that I have gone through and actually having more so a confirmation on that last week when I went to a couple, coffee shops in Vancouver, that my theory is still more so the same as that it's important, but it's not as important as you may think it is. Um, the three coffees that I did have, it was interesting, especially talking to my brother and friend about this situation when we were drinking the coffee, was that it was that most of the coffees that I did select, they all tasted very similar. Yes, you'll taste a little difference in them, more pronounced as the coffees cool down. But something about them being the way they were, they still mostly tasted the same. And I still didn't get so much more so of my chasing that perfect cup of coffee that I've been on for the past couple of years, which is interesting saying that, being a coffee roaster, having access to almost any coffee that I want to purchase or buy and roast or just drink from other roasters and cafes, you know? But yeah, so I have a high probability that these coffee shops that I did go to, they were, maximizing the clarity, the pureness, the right amount of minerals that they want to have in their coffee from the water, because coffee is mostly water, right? Um, and I know that most of these coffees were roasted extremely light, but the uniqueness of those coffees really didn't come up after tasting them. And again, water is important, but I have to also look at my clientele, those people, and I can recommend what they should be doing, which I will do. But ultimately, I think it's best to make sure that your coffee's optimized for the coffee and not so much of the water. Like the water is not even, to me, a negative type of way of going about it, really, because everybody uses different water. They have different degrees of care. And what I'm understanding from this coffee maker that I bought, that I don't even feel like messing around with anymore, well, is that it's more about the machine. The coffee first, sure, that's a given. But if I had to be a guessing man and to where to put my focus, it's in that machine, that coffee machine that people are using each and every day. That's gonna have one of the greatest impacts in the coffee, the way it's brewed, the way it's extracted. Yeah, it's gonna matter, of course, the way I actually roast it, but I do roast my coffee on a medium side than compared to a light roast side. So that does help a lot with extraction levels. But one of the things that I'm realizing more than anything is all about the machine. And just like in the clientele that I do have or that I'm chasing, is not the high specialty type of people, which I believe that's extremely possible with my type of coffee. Is more so about the majority of the people who drink everyday beans. And that's something that's interesting, like finding out what they care about, what they're willing to pay for, and ultimately more so than what they talk about, but how they go about their ritual each and every day. Hell, they may not think of it as much of a ritual. They may just think it is as a necessary evil that they do each and every day. Even just that mentality and that thinking about that process really is opening up my eyes of like, how much do they really care? But again, I think it goes back to trying to make this as simple as possible. It's like giving people a really good product that essentially they can put in their machine with the coffee, I mean, with the water that they're using, and getting a beverage that is a lot better than what they're used to. That's the thing that I'm fighting. I believe that's the thing that I have to understand more than anything. They have their own rituals, they have their own ways of going about it. And I'm not really there to change that. I'm really just there to give them a better product. And that's mostly in the coffee and not in the maker, and also not in the water, not even the condiments or the additives that they want to do. If they do that, which is perfectly fine. But it's about giving them the best product as I can from the get-go. Because once it leaves my hand, that's their product. they can do whatever they want with it. They can, like for a better word, or they can wipe their faces or asses with the coffee and be perfectly fine with the outcome that they got from it. I don't have control of that. And I think that's part of the thing that I'm struggling with, or more so coming to the realization that it's more about leave, taking that control out of my hands, because I can't control every aspect of the situation. I'm seeing a lot of either coffee roasters using different coffee makers or making their own coffee makers and telling people recipes and all that stuff, which I believe is still a good idea, but that's something that a specialty coffee person can kind of do, because a lot of the customers are using similar devices. They know how to use those devices. So when somebody says a ratio or what's another thing, or a recipe of how to make a coffee, when they're telling you to use either French press or AeroPress or a B60 or whatever type type of coffee maker that somebody's using, even a mocha pot, which is very helpful. It's cool to use. But there's another thing, Mocha Master, that's a very high end coffee maker that's $300, which I'll talk about that in another episode. Those clients have those devices. They've brewed coffee on those devices. They may have their own recipe, technique, gadgets to understand what the coffee is really doing and extracting. That's not majority of the people in the world, though. A lot of times people just use what they have. I have a lot of clients that just want to use a simple coffee maker, ground coffee, and go about it that way. That's just the reality of it. And once I believe I stop fighting that and more so focus on giving them the best coffee in that they can use and enjoy and do whatever the hell they want with it. That's my goal, you know. I will talk about recipes and all that stuff, but one thing that I do understand is that I will understand is that the control part needs to stop. I can only control how I roast a particular coffee, and that's it, you know. Once it's gone, it's theirs. And yeah, I can provide guidance, but it's up to them. That's their house. When I'm not there, when they do this each and every day, that's all that matters. And that's one thing that I'm really trying to understand and get with this whole process. So that's why the water thing doesn't matter. That's why, even though I think it's important, more important than the and type of water, the way you go about drinking your coffee, or even the temp. We haven't talked about that yet, which I'm having a doozy at right now. I've actually increased my temp from 193 degrees Fahrenheit to like 200 or 199. We'll talk about that later, but there's so many controlling, compelling variables that I can talk about, that I can provide, but none of it really matters, because ultimately that person is going to make that coffee the way they want to. So as long as I'm there to help and to push them forward on the things that they can do with the coffee or not, really, again, it starts with giving them a better product than what they're dealing with right now, that's more or so the game. That's more or so the battle. And yeah, crazy. Crazy how these podcasts are more or so like a realization for me in how to perhaps run my business than anything else. So we'll see how it all looks and transpires and all that good stuff. But that's what I got going. We'll see what's next on the list and go from there. Talk to you later.